Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and I'm here this morning with David.
Hello.
And today we are talking about how to stop settling for less, how to
Overcome the need for
I was
approval.
going to say resist the desperation for approval, and to stop living in pain and hurt all the time.
Yeah, we'll briefly can touch upon how to stop hurting. Sometimes people have hurt. I mean, they move on spiritually and they become all connected to the energy and whatnot, but they still have hurt. How do you remove it?
It's I think it's something that more often than not we deal with, whether we deal with it every day, we still deal with it. Well, the Weekly Energy Boost is your 7-day energetic forecast for the coming week. David and I put our heads together every Monday morning and try to offer up the most practical and the most profound, not only wisdom, but also prescriptions to help you get through the coming week. And in doing so, we strive to provide meaningful content that will be useful any day of the human experience. I think that one of the great parts about this show is you, our listeners, sharing with us, whether it's through commenting on Facebook or IGTV. Sometimes we get emails. We've been getting some fabulous emails through energyboost@Kabbalah.com. And you may be listening on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, CastBox, or Stitcher, wherever you are. Oh, you might even be listening on YouTube. Let us know your questions, what you want to hear about, and your feedback about the show so we can constantly improve and speak to our listeners, which is something hard to do when we're alone in the studio like this.
That's right.
So we had a really amazing story come to us through the email about somebody who had actually been studying Kabbalah for some time prior to connecting with the podcast. And she shared with me her story just before she had started studying Kabbalah. She wasn't really happy in work, sort of challenged in her marriage as well. And long story short, uncovered the fact that her husband wasn't faithful.
Did she say how?
She did not. I honestly don't remember
Give
exactly.
our listeners something.
Juicy. I don't know. I don't remember.
Everything's so spiritual on this show.
Well, I also want to be sensitive. Forgive me for that. So she found out that her husband was not faithful, and around the same period, she was also offered a job overseas from the same company that she was working on. So in the way that she shared it, it was sort of the universe helped her get out of the painful situation that she's in. Fast forward to today, she's much happier. She's doing something she loves. You know, she's also glad that she's not in that marriage, that what would you call it? Dishonest relationship, but at the same time she's still in pain. She's still hurt over what happened, living in the now and enjoying what she does have now, but at the same time every so often feels that hurt and pain over how things went down.
They're separated?
They are divorced.
Oh, they are divorced.
Yeah,
now.
they divorced.
Are there children involved?
No, there were no children involved.
Okay.
I feel like I'm getting therapy.
So what there? I mean, there are many spiritual messages here. What would you say?
Her question was, I want to let go of how do I let go of the pain and the hurt as a result of what happened? In this particular case, it sounded like she almost didn't have time to sit in it.
Right.
But 2 years later, looking back with gratitude on how it happened, there's still pain. There's still hurt. And there was betrayal. I mean, that's something that's very difficult, in my opinion, to get over.
Well, we did speak a little bit about this, and it's a question we get all the time, which is trying to be spiritual. I'm trying to be connected to the light of my soul. I'm making different decisions today, right? You leave an abusive relationship or an abusive job scenario or leaving toxic friendships. However, people often who do move on and experience a better life, they still feel hurt and they feel pain. And we all have that.
Right. And you may be thinking of a friend or someone in your family, someone that you know that is in this situation. You can take a second now, tag them in the comments, forward the show to them, share it on your feed, whatever it is, because it's oftentimes helpful to hear the message from an impartial party.
Right.
And we like to be that impartial party for
Right.
you.
And we get messages all the time that people's lives are changing just from hearing something from one of our shows. So what is one way of removing that hurt and pain? Because it does relate to the show's topic, which is settling for less. We need to know that every decision that we make in life that is somehow sourced from hurt or pain is limiting our ability to make that decision effectively. So if I want the wisdom and the divine wisdom to make a certain decision that will bring me long-term fulfillment, that decision will be completely limited because I feel hurt and I feel pain. So I'm going to be making decisions from pain, from lack, from hurt. I'm probably going to enter new relationships.
I was gonna say, she might be waiting for the other shoe to drop in any relationship she's going to be in because she just expects now it to end in...
It's a guarantee that whatever relationship she picks, even with a new spiritual consciousness, if there's still hurt from the prior relationship, it will cause her to make the wrong decision or wrong decisions within the next relationship. So it's really important that we take responsibility for the hurt that we feel from our parents, from our siblings, from our friends, from loved ones. We all carry this stuff. So what is one practical tool that we can give? Well, we learn in Kabbalah this idea that there are negative forces in this world that attach themselves to our soul. Now, the word that we give for it is in Kabbalah is called klipot, which literally translates to shells, like shells of negative energy. They're like parasites that attach to our soul, and they crave energy and they crave light. And what they do is that's how they live. So we all have physical parasites in our body, and these physical parasites require, sugar or something to live. And as long as they're in our body, they distort our digestion. They cause problems in the body. Nobody wants parasites. So we have parasites in the soul as well. We've accumulated these parasites through reactive behavior, past life and this life. And the hurt that we feel is actually coming from these negative forces. So if I want to get rid of hurt, I really got to get rid of these negative forces. How do I do that? Well, one simple solution and tool, it's not simple. It is simple. It's not easy.
Just not easy. Right.
Is every time that parasite, that hurt, that pain rears its ugly head, either situationally, meaning maybe you see your ex-husband again. You see that your ex-husband moved on. You see that your ex is happy and you're not. That's a situational example of when the hurt comes up. Or it could just be an intrusive thought comes in. You're just going through your day and then an intrusive thought enters your mind that says, don't you remember how much you hate your ex? Don't you remember what he did to you or she did to you? So it can be thought or situational. Something occurs that brings up the hurt and the pain. When that hurt comes up, it's a great sign. And people often try to run away from that hurt. They try to fill that hurt immediately with some form of instant gratification, or they just shut down. They try to numb themselves. They check out.
Social media is a great place to go when you don't want to deal with how you feel.
There's tremendous sources of energy around us to check out. It's really easy to check out these days. So what you really got to do is when the hurt comes up, it's actually a way that your soul is saying, heal me now. And what you should do is you should just sit down, you just close your eyes and talk to the Creator, talk to your soul, talk to the universe, and say and ask for support, light, and help to fill this pain and transform it. And it's this consciousness of really getting excited about this pain that you feel and say, okay, I feel the pain, and I have the opportunity now to bring light to it. I want to seize this moment. I don't want to numb myself. I don't want to run away from it. I don't even want to think that it's bad. This is not bad. The fact that you all of a sudden have an intrusive thought or somebody in your life did something that's painful and it's bringing up old pain, this is a very good thing. Sit by yourself and just meditate. And I like to visualize this like white light entering my soul, healing me of all this hurt and pain. It's a total illusion that I'm in pain. It's a total illusion that I have all this lack.
When you say it's a total illusion, what do you mean, David? Because that can sound not sensitive.
It's Kabbalistic terminology by meaning that truly deep down inside, I have all the energy I need. So why am I looking for energy from my ex? Or why am I looking for energy from my friends? Or why am I looking for energy or approval from other people? Truthfully, I have it inside me. I'm not accessing it. So when I say an illusion, it's like I'm being shown a magic trick that really I don't have it. But in truth, it's been there the whole time. And you have to access it. You have to know it's there. You have to access it. And you have to ask the Creator to help you access it. And that asking, that praying, that requesting, that desiring to connect to the energy that you already have actually begins to open it up. Now, if you can do that and repeat that scenario over and over again, every time you feel hurt and pain, I can promise you, and the sages, this is what they write, that you will all of a sudden not feel the pain anymore. Now, if you let it just organically try to go away over time, time also heals, right? They say time heals. The reason why time heals is just over time you learn how to embrace your pain and to not feed it instant gratification and run away from your pain. So that's why time heals. But you could do that within 3 days. You could do that within 7 days. You don't need 7 years to get over something.
Right. And David touched on something that we wanted to talk about that's very much going to show up in our radar this coming week, not because the universe is taunting us, but because we have the opportunity this week to tame the beast.
Yeah.
That's the last week I said it, and I feel it's good to repeat it every week, is that within the poison lies the antidote. So the fact that this week we will all be tempted to seek approval, to look for a quick fix, an easy, the way that it shows up, I see in a lot of people's lives. There may be people who are listening and say, well, I'm not an approval junkie. I don't care what people think about me. Yeah. Many times that short-term gratification that we seek, and that's really what we're talking about here, right? That instant gratification that comes from an external source. So it may not be a human being telling you you're doing a great job. It may come from a certain customer that tips you or sends you gifts. It may come in the form of just not getting in trouble. You don't want your boss to notice you, and when your boss doesn't notice you, it's a good thing. There are so many ways that it can show up. The reality is that any kind of energy we're going to receive in that mode is not going to be fulfilling. It may feel good for 10 minutes or 30 minutes or a day or two, but like any good drug, there's a high and then there's a crash. And Kabbalah teaches us to hold out for the real deal. And that's probably one of the most difficult lessons to learn as a human being is, do I want the recognition from the company, the friend group, my parents, wherever, do I want the certificate? Do I want the bonus? Or do I want the true fulfillment that I can achieve?
And what we should know why this is valuable. And we're giving suggestions not just to be spiritual beings. Who cares about that? We're giving suggestions of how to receive more. That's what Kabbalah means, to receive. The wisdom of Kabbalah is to help us access infinite pleasure, fulfillment, and abundance. And that's our birthright. That's why we came to this world. So what Elisheva just said is there's really two types of people who settle for less. There's the passive settler. And then there's the aggressive, like the type A settler. And they both are settling for less. So what does the passive person do? The passive person, and see which one you identify with, because everyone falls in these two categories. The passive settler is the one who is afraid to make the move, is afraid to risk, is afraid to leave a limiting
they
situation.
They like to play it safe, and the fact that it's safe is the instant gratification, right?
Exactly. The passive settler, the negative force, that our evil inclination, that negative force that we call the opponent, we all have it. The opponent of the passive settler says, if you leave this cushy, secure, you have
going
health
back
benefits.
To our friend with the example, if you leave the unfulfilling relationship, you'll be alone.
Right. You'll be alone. You're already old. You're already this. You're already that. The passive settler's opponent also says, you might be happy, but then the other person will also be happy, and then that will torture you. So there's a lot of, that's the negativity of the passive settler. And the job of the passive settler is to obviously go against that nature.
The mission, when the antidote lies in recognizing those moments, like David said, when you're feeding that parasite. How do you starve that parasite that wants you to settle in that moment?
Exactly. So the starve the parasite there is gradually taking more initiative to do things that are risky, but with a positive mindset, right? Not just take a risk, but to constantly break the fear. By breaking the fear, what you do is you unlock the light of your soul, which then that light shows you what to do, where to go, and where the blessings come. Now, what about the type A aggressive settler? This is the type of person who's so type A, always trying to be the best, always trying to get the most. Rav Ashlag, the founder of the Kabbalah Center, says this kind of person is always looking for more. And this more mentality actually causes this person to have less, which is interesting because you see this person is working so hard. They're even amassing fortunes. They're amassing physical things in their life. However, the sages say, Rav Ashlag says that even though it looks like this person accomplished a lot, because they are always coming from their reactive fear and some kind of hurt or pain is driving them forward to be successful, in the end, they will actually have less than what they're meant to have. Okay, so monetarily, they'll have less. Fulfillment-wise, they'll have less. Blessing-wise, they'll actually have less. Even though in their mind, they think, look at what I created by being motivated through hurt and pain. I know a lot of people who are adopted, and they feel this
like to prove themselves.
Yeah, because what's the first thing that the child feels is, I was rejected. So I'm rejected, so I'm going to show that I am relevant and I am valuable. I have many students who are adopted, and they actually become successful because they want to prove, because they have hurt and they have pain. But it doesn't matter what they achieve, because it's motivated by hurt and pain, they're still
that
settling.
parasite is getting fed by the success.
The parasite built the empire, not your soul.
Right. And so in the process, what ends up happening is when we opt for that mode, we're literally building a fortress around the parasite so that nothing can touch it. It'll stay intact, thriving, flourishing in the ecosystem that it's really damaging.
This is why it's very hard for very successful people to be open to especially Kabbalah and spirituality. When I've spoken to them, is they say, well, what are you going to teach me? Look what I've created. And if I look at the time span of this successful person, oftentimes something happens that they're stripped of this empire they've created in some way that breaks their ego, that makes them realize, wait a minute, I probably did build this on a shaky spiritual foundation. I need to
out of lack, out of fear, out of insecurity, out of rejection.
Right.
You know, the empire is built on rejection. That's not going to last.
So we have a lot of people listening right now thinking, okay, well, what do? I realize I've built maybe a family, a marriage, a business around my need for approval, around my need to be relevant, around my need to feel accomplished, because nobody gave me that when I was a child. What do I do now? I mean, nothing's falling apart. So what can we tell these people? What can you do now? That's the question. And I think it's actually very powerful to recognize it now before things fall apart. Right. What would you say, Elisheva?
Well, I think one of the hardest things, if there's a step one, and I feel like we talk about this often in different iterations, it's to be real. Like, one of the hardest things about this process is to admit, wow, I am an approval junkie, or wow, I am really carrying this grudge against, my older sibling who blah, 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 blah me, right? That, I know very spiritual people on a spiritual path for a long time that have sequestered that parasite so much so that they think it's gone. Right. And it's not that it's gone. They just stop playing with it. Right. But it's still nourishing from that, every moment that they're looking, how many likes did I get, or how many people, it's almost like we're looking for the ratings, the reviews on ourselves. And the first step to me is really taking that harsh look in the face at the parasites that I've been feeding.
And people want to know, well, how do I know what it is? Elisheva just nailed it on the head. If you want to cleanse, you've already started the cleansing process. If you want to remove that negativity and make sure that negativity, that parasite, is not part of the success you're building in life, it's not part of your family, it's not part of the way you parent, it's not part of the way you develop friendships. All you got to do is want to know what it is and desire that it leaves, and then use the tool that we said about hurt, which is when it comes up, that you meditate and you visualize that the light of your soul is coming in and cleansing and removing that pain. And as soon as you want to cleanse your negativity, what you'll experience, the fastest way to know what I need to change is rejection. Is when the world rejects you or the world pushes you back, is when
you don't get the approval that you've been seeking. That's actually one of the greatest blessings I've experienced personally,
Yeah.
and I see it happening in people's lives, is they want the recognition, they want the acknowledgement, and they don't get it. And that's like the beginning of the crumble of the fortress.
Right.
It's the greatest blessing.
Right. Right. Because when the rejection comes, all of a sudden it awakens something inside of us. And instead of trying to break down that roadblock that's in front of us, break down the roadblock that's inside you before you break the external one. It's very dangerous. If you try to push for a certain situation to occur in your favor on the outside before you overcome the fear or hurt on the inside, it's a very dangerous combination.
Well, I think we also probably have a lot of people listening, and I can see from the comments, there are people, right? I brought up a story from a listener who is, the painful situation is in the past, but she's carrying the pain with her. What would you say to somebody that's currently in a difficult situation, the difficult relationship, the toxic environment, that it's not as simple as the company needs me to move overseas, bye-bye?
So what would be like the example?
The example? There's a lot of people in relationships that they know they should be somewhere else, but they don't leave because of the kids.
Yeah, right. The kids thing.
The kids thing.
So yeah, this person doesn't want to leave because of the kids.
Or it could be a job. It's bone crushingly exasperating, excruciating for me, but the paycheck is good. The benefits. Right. I actually spoke to someone who was listening to us previously and said that it's their 401k that's keeping them where they are, and it's a really great. It's like an unheard of deal that this company offers, and she's young. And she doesn't want to make the mistakes that her family made before her, not preparing for retirement and everything. So
I'll tell you one solution can be, this is what I would do, and I've been in situations like this many times before. I first ask the Creator, I say, I don't want to make any decision from my own fear, my own limited perception, because whatever I think or feel is limited, and it's being dictated by my own hurt, pain, and correction that I don't even know about sometimes. So I first acknowledge that. Number two, I say, all right, I'm going to go out there and start to ask for support and help from mentors, from spiritual mentors, from business mentors. Just ask a lot of questions. And I ask that throughout that process of me interviewing people, it will be revealed to me what I need to do. So I'm taking two things into consideration. Number one, I'm acknowledging my own blind spots. My own blind spots could be, I don't want to leave because it's safe. I don't want to leave because I enjoy the cushioning job, whatever it is. Acknowledge your blind spots, and then start talking to people and asking them, what do they feel? What do they know? What has been their experience? I think that's very powerful because the Creator talks through people. And it's crazy because I've noticed a lot of people make decisions without truly asking for guidance. If you ask guidance because you're looking to hear something, that's a problem because then you're manipulating everybody around you. You got to go to each person and say, Creator, speak to this person. Whether it's this way or that way, I'm okay to hear it. If you say that, then you'll start to receive divine messages from people. So that's what I do. I like to talk to 10, 20, 30 different people, all of them until I really feel that the Creator is giving me a clear message. And oftentimes that message is actually not what is in my comfort zone.
I think another great question to ask, and this is an overarching way to gain clarity about a difficult situation, is how's this going to look in 5 years? Right. So if and maybe, this person may be listening now, if you're sitting in this job with the cushy 401k or whatever it is, and I didn't ask all the details of it, but it just came up in the conversation, or if I'm still in this relationship for the sake of the kids in 5 years from now, how am I going to feel? What message am I giving the kids? What's going to be on my spouse's? That it's very difficult to see the forest for the trees when you're in the midst of something, especially when you're reactive about it. Mm-hmm. Go 5 years forward, and maybe start with a year and then jump to 5 years, and try to see the potential light in holding on to the negativity, in staying in the situation that's painful, or someone else was writing here about a toxic situation without a lot of details, but it's hard in the midst of it to see how it can be better. And one of the things, David said a minute ago, and I asked him to clarify, there's an illusion right there, right? What I'm experiencing is an illusion. I can think of 20 people right now who over the last year were in very difficult situations that are not in that situation anymore. Mm-hmm. Now, in the midst of that situation, did it look like there was light at the end of the tunnel? No. And they were ready to pack their bags or call it quits or hire a lawyer. They were definitely on the edge of doing something drastic, and we spoke about it. And one of the things we spoke about is don't give in to the illusion, right? It's really about your response. And even somebody is saying here, you have to be careful who you ask. You actually don't, because the universe hires the cast of characters in your movie for your growth.
Yeah, the truth is, if you do ask the creator to speak through anybody you ask will be a channel, even people who are not even having your best interest in mind. That being said, to answer Max's question, I would, for more of a novice asker, I would say speak to the people who genuinely have the consciousness of a builder consciousness and a destroyer consciousness. And we've spoken about this in prior shows. Builder consciousness looks to build, long-term building, long-term unity.
You don't want to set yourself up for a smack in the face from the person you're asking. Don't go to your competition or your ex and ask for the divine inspiration. Become more from I've seen my teacher go to random people in the hallway and say,
we've seen that.
So I think it's much more of a, how open are you?
Right.
If you're already looking at the person saying, well, this guy's an idiot, I'm not going to listen to what he has to say, don't ask that person. Right?
So Kimberly just said, how do I get past my own judgment of my husband's negativity? I can't make progress with that. And I was speaking to somebody else about this. This is a common thing in marriages. It's very important to stop giving the passive evil eye and judging the other person. Because I feel
like we did 8 shows about
that. We've done this
year.
so many times, but we all need to hear it again. I need to hear it again. The person, because you love the person.
Right.
You love the person. And when you love someone, you want them to always change and be the best. And that mixed in with your desire to be comfortable and your desire to be with a successful person causes this double judgment to occur. And you're always judging the person, right? We judge the people who we have the most in contact with because they determine our pleasure, our happiness, our relevancy in this world. So we're always judging them, always trying to make them better, and make them more convenient for us. It's very important to realize that this person is a angel that has been sent from the Creator and is the Creator's mouthpiece.
Waiting for the comments to blow up here, calling the negative husband an angel.
I tell you, I try to use this in my own marriage. I've seen this work with hundreds of marriages that we've counseled. That is, the other person is the mouthpiece of the Creator. If you take the first 3 to 6 months and purely try to use this relationship to just purify yourself. Don't try to, well, what about them? Well, what about them? Well, what about them? If you just make it about your own transformation, your light will become so strong that the dynamic changes. But if you're trying to change yourself and change the other person simultaneously, you're creating a blocked situation where nothing will move. Because that's what people do. Spiritual people in the Kabbalah Center, I've noticed, okay, I'll work on myself, but I'm also going to make sure they change. We'll do both. I'm changing, and I'm going to shove how much I'm changing in the other person's face so they are inspired to change. We got to be really careful for that.
Can we have a Hollywood moment on the show?
We are in Hollywood.
We are in Hollywood. We're across the street from some of the biggest studios in the world.
Biggest illusions in the world.
So let me share with you a Hollywood moment. As many of you know, I have small children at home, and yesterday we went to see Frozen 2. Okay. I am one of the contributors to the $1.7 billion weekend they had, and first of all, tons of spiritual messages. I was watching the movie and thinking, wow, like somebody who was contributing to the script has to have listened to the show or read a book or taken a class.
It was very Kabbalistic.
Very, very spiritually rooted. Anyway, why am I sharing this with you? Because there's actually a song by this title, but one of the main themes was, if you can't see your future, just do the next right thing. Now, I'm not sure I would use the word right? But next light thing, maybe. Mm. But the point was, if you can't see to the end of the tunnel, find the light you can reveal right now. Mm. And that, I think, is a great message for all of humanity, first of all, because I think we do a lot of the mistakes, quote unquote, that we make are done when we can't see the end of the tunnel and we're desperate and we're afraid. And a lot of the focus was, that it's really fear that makes us make those short-sighted, limited, ultimately defeating decisions. So the question is, and if we're getting lots of comments from different people, but in the situation in which you feel trapped or you can't see the end of the tunnel, what can you do right now to reveal light? And to David's point, don't go out and feed the homeless and hope that it's going to improve your marriage. Nothing against feeding the homeless. I'm definitely a big advocate of that, but not because you have darkness at home. Turn the light on at home. Find a way to meet the other person where they're at, or don't be afraid to bring the light.
This is something we learn in Kabbalah 1, I think class 6, where in this world, you're not allowed to see the future, because by not seeing the future, you're being given the free will to truly choose the light or the darkness, to truly choose the instant gratification or long-term fulfillment. If we all could see how great the future will be,
we'd sit on the couch and watch Netflix
we'd
all
be like,
day.
it's all okay, right? This girl just, like your situations, girl just found out husband cheating on her. It's devastating pain after like 5-10 years of marriage. And then all of a sudden, the creator shows her a vision that in 2 years, she's going to meet this amazing man and have beautiful children, and the whole life's going to be great. So she's going to walk in, she's going to smile. That's the end of it. She'll be like, well, I already saw the vision of where this is going, so no problem, I'm out. No pain, no transformation, no nothing. So this is reactive spirituality. This is spirituality coming from the outside. This is not you choosing. The choosing is important. We came to this world to choose to act a certain way. So if you could see the future, your free will would be gone. And if your free will would be gone, then there's no point in being in this world. So everybody should know, when you don't see your future, that's a good sign. It means you are in the midst of the test and you're about to go to your next level. If you can see the future, then you're not in the test. So it doesn't even matter. We want the situations where we cannot see where it's going. We have to value those moments.
I want to bring up another way that we often settle for less, or I would say that it's more of, trading what we really want for that momentary high or rise that we might get from a situation. I know that one of the things that we talk about in Kabbalah 1, I think it's by the end of class 4, you have the definitive formula on how to take any situation in which you're proactive and switch it to being reactive.
No,
right?
The other way around, in which you are reactive to switch to be proactive.
Absolutely. And I could be very reactive about saying that publicly, but now I'm going to enjoy it and welcome it and let it in. So yes, the formula for going from reactive to proactive.
That's right.
One of the things that we do once we start on that path, and I know a lot of people will, they'll have it as their wallpaper on their phone and their screensaver on their computer, and they'll paste it all over their dashboard and the refrigerator. What ends up happening is that we become spiritually minded. We're looking for ways to amplify the light in our lives, and then in a split second, we flush it down the toilet for no really good reason. What do I mean when I say that? Again, I'm thinking of somebody I have conversations with pretty regularly, and she's very much into, well, that's not right. Right? With the fair model that we've often talked about in our shows. And she is genuinely convinced that that's not right, or that's not fair.
Tell us what it is.
No, it's basically almost in every conversation there's something that it's just, she has taken on the judiciary role of the creator, and it's less even about her life. She's busy, passing judgment on everything that she sees in her daily life. So in that moment, now this is a person that is meditating, giving charity, taking responsibility for her, the things that she needs to transform in her life, except this one. Right. I see her in her daily life working so hard to be a beacon of light in the world. And then she reverts to this, well, I'm gonna turn them in. Or I'm going to call the FBI, or no, maybe not call the FBI. I'm going to call the parking enforcement. I'm going to this, I'm going to that. Like 1 second. I've told it to her before. You accumulate, let's say, 70,000 coins of light in your bank account through your prayer and meditation and charity and kindness and taking responsibility and being proactive. And then in 1 second, flush all of those sacks of gold down the toilet because you are stuck. And there are people that do it when they get angry, right? Super spiritual, consciously minded people who verbally destroy their employees, their family members, their friends, or whatever. And in a second, it's like they're sitting in a vacuum.
Yeah, this is why I think being Aquarius really comes into a positive. It's a positive quality.
That's the thing. You're Aquarius when you want to be, and you're Pisces when you want to be. You got to pick a team.
I'm both Aquarius
pick a team,
and Pisces.
David.
And I like to use the Aquarius. Believes really there's nothing else in the world besides them. And the reason why that's so powerful is as soon as everybody starts to bother me, I realize, wait.
David just outed himself big time, and he doesn't even realize it.
It's just an illusion that everyone's bothering me. They don't even exist. It's just me and the Creator and my spiritual work.
And you don't count, and you're meaningless.
When I'm reactive, you should not exist, because if I think you exist, I think then you're the problem. And as long as, like, I try to visualize these like Armageddon scenarios where everyone's like zombie apocalypse and the whole world's dead, or maybe some kind of like virus killed everybody, and then it's just me and the Creator. I'm like, what would I do now?
Wow, you use that imagination a little too much, don't you?
I mean, that's what Hollywood's there for. I download that. I say the world just we had this massive apocalyptic moment. It's just me and the Creator. What would I do? Who am I going to be upset with, right? So that is the only way to do it, because the opponent, our opponent, is so good. He's so strong. He's always going to make it somehow external. Always going to make it about this, that, this situation, that situation, and everything we know comes from the Creator. So whatever painful situation we're going through, always remember what you're upset about right now. That came from the Creator. So when you say this person is stupid, slow, and insensitive, we're kind of saying that the light of the Creator, the infinite light of the Creator, is stupid, slow, insensitive, and we just don't see the whole picture. So there's no other way to live, by the way. There's no other way. Every other way hits a wall and is draining. And
David's zombie apocalypse is my version of how is this going to matter in 5 years, right? If I'm annoyed with the person who parked in my spot, right? I have an assigned spot. I get to park here. And I get busy and vindictive about what am I going to do to the person when they walk out of their car. I'm going to blah, blah, blah. All I have to think is in 5 years from now, is this going to matter? And it completely takes the picante. It takes the jalapeno out of the situation, because who cares?
It happens at least once a month, 10 minutes before class. I'm rushing to class.
And someone parks in your spot.
Elisheva and I both have designated spots behind the Kabbalah Center. I remember coming there just a couple months ago, I don't know, and it was like this nice car was parked in my spot. It was like a nice Audi convertible. I don't know what it was.
It's probably my car.
And I was getting so, I got so angry. I said, what nerve? This random person is parked in my spot. So
by the way, it doesn't say belongs to David Ghiyam. I'm sure that if it did, he wouldn't dare.
Anyone who's part of the Kabbalah Center knows you do not park in my spot. So this person obviously must be some kind of neighboring whatever. And then my 5 planets in Scorpio just emerged, and I said, I'm going to park my car.
You're going to block them in.
I'm going to block them in, but that would mean my car is literally in the middle of the street. And then obviously so much chaos would come from something like that. And I just paused. I said, right before class, I'm about to go teach this exact scenario. And I said, I'm going to ask the light to come in. I'm going to go park on the street. I'm going to park in front of the meter. It's totally fine. I'm going to be late, whatever. But the Creator parked that car there. It's such a simple example, but after 20 years of Kabbalah,
so annoying, right?
I'm just still thinking I'm going to leave a sign on their door that says, we will destroy you. Not just we will tow you.
Signed, Darth Vader.
Yeah, be like you're parking in the head of a cartel spot, and
he will have you annihilated the next time.
You will be annihilated the next time. Just to really put the fear into him. But
But again, is it worth it? It's not worth it, because David meditated and prayed and shared and helped and did all these powerful, globally impactful things all day long. And it's 6:55. The universe is saying, here's the toilet. Do you want to flush it all down, or do you want to keep having that impact.
And a lot of people listening to the show, you need to know that if you are hardcore spiritualists, if you're really doing work on yourself and you're revealing a lot of energy, it says that about you and your soul, for someone like you to get angry, it actually, for even a moment, and you don't catch it and change it, it actually can destroy a big part of the world.
Right.
So I'm sure a lot of people listening to our show right now are people who are working on themselves and they're revealing a lot of energy and a lot of light. I have some students that I know that have been doing so much spiritual work and they have so much physical influence in this world and spiritual influence that if they were upset for even 5 minutes and they didn't transform it, the amount of chaos that would be created from it spiritually is huge. So we also have to be very conscious of that there are many people, if you're not on a spiritual path and you get upset, you know what, it's going to just hurt you and that's it. But if you're on a spiritual path and you're connected to other souls and you've inspired a lot of people, so that means their souls are connected to your soul. As soon as you become reactive, that energy, that chaos, that virus just permeates to everyone in your network and it starts affecting everybody you've ever affected. And that's kind of scary to me. So if even I don't care about myself, I need to care about all the people attached to me that I've touched.
And on that optimistic note, I want to what David just said actually is going to apply to all of us this week for a very simple Kabbalistic reason, that this week is the new moon, contains within it the new moon of Sagittarius. I realize in conventional astrology that happened last week.
Yes.
On the Kabbalistic calendar, it's happening on Thanksgiving, no less, to give us all that extra opportunity to be proactive and a light bringer wherever our Thanksgiving plans come. I know that many of the people listening are international and don't we have a major holiday happening this week in the States, and
that's right.
it tends to create an opportunity for lots of triggers. So 2 things I want to tell you. One is that if you are looking to connect with the new moon of Sagittarius and find out more about the month, we'll talk about that in the coming 4 weeks, but just if you want to hear a whole hour dedicated to what that means and have consciousness around it, we are going to have our live streaming event is going to be on Tuesday night because of the holiday rather than having it on Wednesday night or Thursday night for that matter. So we can put the link in the comments, or if you're listening on the podcast and you want that information, you can email us at energyboost@kabbalah.com. Why am I bringing it up? Not to plug the event, but because our actions during the new moon are magnified that much more. And the contrast between the month of Scorpio that we're wrapping up in these first couple days of the week and the month of Sagittarius, which we're going to enjoy for 30 days beginning on Friday, is that if Scorpions are intense and, bent on judgment or seeing things as either black and white, it's all gray to Sagittarians, right? It's really, their attitude is much more footloose and fancy free. They do have personal guilt issues, but and we always share this because we're all going to become a little Sagittarian this month. If you've been feeling the heaviness of the month of Scorpio, you're in luck. It's lifting, but we want to be careful on these 2, on Thursday and Friday especially, to be the best versions of ourselves. And if you need some extra support on how to handle your family over the holidays, later on today I will post a link. We did a show, I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, with some tips on how to handle your family during the holidays. I'm happy to share that again. Or if you're listening on the podcast and you want that episode, I can email us at energyboost@kabbalah.com and I'll send you out the link. But that idea that my consciousness in those 42 hours, my actions, my thoughts, my words in those 48 hours can have an impact on the coming month of my life means even more so. Everything that we've been talking about for the last 45 minutes counts that much more in those 48 hours. So strategize. If you know that your Uncle Bill is, highly irritated or excitable when it comes to politics, come up with a game plan on how you're going to divert the conversation at the table so that we don't have to go there. If you know that you have a cousin who always plays the I'm left out of everything card, strategize ways to bring that be the person that brings the light into the room, into the dinner, into the gathering. And of course you can do that anytime, anywhere, but in knowing that those 48 hours from Wednesday sunset to Friday sunset are that much more impactful. Like David was saying, that person who's highly attuned spiritually has that much more impact, we're all going to have a greater impact in those 48 hours. So be on your best behavior. And I don't mean be nice, right? It's not about being nice. It's about being as proactive as you can be, being sensitive to the people around you, being inclusive, being those things that it's hardest for you to be, because that leaves an indelible mark on the coming 30 days, and it will be easier for you to be that person in the coming 30 days.
Beautiful. As we wrap up, right before we came here, I got a message, I got a text from a student who's in my Kabbalah 1. I don't even know if she realizes that it has to do with this week's energy, whatnot. I thought I'd just read it real quick, just to leave us an inspiring note. This is a person who took Kabbalah1.com. And it changed her life, then came to a live class, changed her life, and is taking it again. So she wrote, "My mom, what I needed she could not provide. This is a good family, a nice family, but this is what she's realizing through her spiritual work. My mom is emotionally unavailable, perpetually depressed, and incapable of mothering. As a child, I understood no difference. This was life. I never really knew I had a problem until I had my first kid. I was 25 years old. It was in the first 24 hours of giving birth that my resentment began, and over the next 9 years, that it skyrocketed. It's interesting. As soon as she had a child, and I'm sure people listening to us can relate to these milestones, as soon as she had a child, her resentment towards her unavailable mom started to increase. I learned so much about my life in that time period. I learned I was an emotionally neglected child who was depressed her whole childhood. The proof was that I remembered very little from my childhood. Still to this day, have very vague memories of being happy. I can recollect countless traumatic events, but the happy ones are few and far in between." And this person, by the way, is a very successful person that I'm reading. Fast forward, as an adolescent, I consciously choose my brother to fulfill my maternal parental needs. So, boom, I have a lack, I have a hurt, I'm looking for other people to become my mom. She chose her brother to become the mom. When he started to give less, I started looking outwards. So then the creator ensures that the brother pulls away. I started to fill it with my friends' moms, therapists, my peers, mother-in-law, anybody. All of a sudden now I'm looking for someone else to get light from. I never realized that I was using him for his energy on my own. The universe gave me warning signs and red lights. I ran through them with zero consciousness. I ran through them so many times the creator finally took my brother out of my life in a painful way. Our friendship relationship ended, and this time I'm certain it will never be the same. So it's interesting, because each relationship that she looked to fill her hole, that relationship was destroyed. Over the years, I sought every form of instant gratification, from self-pity, self-hatred, victim consciousness, drugs, and the list goes on. This led me to Kabbalah and my spiritual work. Spiritual work is what led me to understand that I have sought a series of energy hosts my whole life, all to reflect my own personal correction. I chose this mother to reflect my self-correction. I chose dozens of people along the way to fulfill what I thought my mother was intended to give me.
1 second. She is not listening to the show, and just...
She asked me, she said she's okay, I could share.
But she wrote it to you...
right before I came to the show. She didn't know that I was coming to the show. Yeah, that's why it's really shit. My mother was intended to give me, but the truth was the creator wanted me to be my own source of light this whole time. I'm sure you hear these stories on a daily basis, and this is probably an entry-level revelation to you. This is what she's writing me. To me, it's impacted every part of my being my whole life. Kabbalah teaches a great deal. What it lacks is experiences from regular people, and this is why I want to share it. So,
wow, so thank her for me.
Yeah.
That's the perfect way to end this show. And
people who have stories like this, feel free to share it to us, share it with us, and we'll share it when appropriate to inspire others.
Oh yeah, I have another story I'm already planning on for next week. Thank you guys for joining us again. Whether you're listening on Facebook, YouTube, IGTV, we're also on iTunes, Spotify, Castbox, Stitcher, Google Play, and iHeartRadio. You're more than welcome to put your comments in the comment section. We'll continue to go back periodically during the week to answer your questions and comments. You can also email us at energyboost@kabbalah.com. Have a fabulous, no settling, no trade-offs, no instant gratification week. Hold out for the big prize. It's there for you. And we'll see you next Monday on the Weekly Energy Boost.